The oil effect, how big oil slide is impacting the rest of the stock market. In today's cover story, the man who is taking a stand for higher wages in the auto industry. Plus, how entrepreneurs are tackling a nationwide internet problem. And a money manager stocks up on companies that are in sync with the economy. First Business starts now.
You're watching First Business. Financial news, analysis, and today's investment ideas.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Angela Miles. It's Tuesday, December 16th. In our first look, S&P slips below 2,000. Following a day of dramatic swings, the index closed under that key level. As for the rest of the stock market, the Dow had a triple-digit tumble. NASDAQ lost 49 points. Gold had a $31 meltdown, and crude oil, which is the biggest culprit behind the falling stock market, finished at $55.18 per barrel. Coke, Whirlpool, and Boeing are expected to be market movers today. Coca-Cola shareholders want the CEO to leave. They say he is incapable of leading Coke's turnaround. Whirlpool cut its forecast for the year. Boeing hiking its dividend. And Russia's central bank is raising its key rate to 17%. There is concern as the rapidly collapsing ruble falls to a fresh record low against the dollar. In Trader Talk this morning, Bob Iacchino of Tethys Partners joins us now. And Bob, I know there's a lot of very worried investors out there. Is oil driving this market, or is it programmed computer trading that's moving the market?
Well, it's oil, really. I mean, the program computer trading is triggered by other market events and by price action, mostly their quantitative strategies. So it is oil at this point. I think it's a little bit overdone, but as you come into the end of the year, it really could continue. I don't think it's like the last time we were down 9% in the S&P where there was a lot of money waiting to come in.
Does the stock market have a case of Fed fears? We have that Fed meeting coming up.
If you're afraid of interest rates hikes, then yes. I don't think the Fed is going to be diverted from its course because of crude oil. They've been looking at the CPI, ex food and energy, under 3 different chairmen. Crude is energy. I don't think that changes.
Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Chuck Coppola has more on how oil is rattling corporate America. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning, Angie. Range Resources becomes the latest casualty of tumbling oil prices. Range Resources has a heavy focus on natural gas. Well, due to the business boom in natural gas drilling, the company's become a victim of its own success. A glut of oil on the market is driving down prices. Range Resources reveals it's trimming its capital spending plans. Oil giants BP and ConocoPhillips recently reduced spending projections. Range Resources stock rallied 3% on the news yesterday.
And an update now on the hostage crisis in Sydney, Australia. The gunman and 2 hostages are dead. An additional 4 people have been injured. After a more than 16-hour standoff, heavily armed police stormed the Lindt Cafe in Sydney's busy financial district where the hostages were being held. The gunman has been identified as Manharan Monis, an Iranian-born self-proclaimed cleric. He had an extensive criminal record. In the midst of the crisis, Uber car service prices jumped dramatically as people were rushing to get out of the city. After a swift social media backlash, the company tweeted that all rides out of Sydney would be free.
10 families devastated by the Newtown massacre file a wrongful death lawsuit. The suit argues that the Bushmaster AR-15 that Adam Lanza used to kill 20 children and 6 staffers at Sandy Hook Elementary 2 years ago is a military weapon that should never have been on the consumer market. What's different about this suit is that unlike past suits that targeted gun shops, this one goes after gun manufacturers. The complaint names assault rifle manufacturer Bushmaster, distributor Camfor, and the store where it was purchased, Riverview Gun Sales. Congress passed a law in 2005 shielding gun manufacturers from liability lawsuits, but Harold Krent, dean of the Chicago-Kent College of Law, says it's the sale of the gun that's being questioned here.
The argument here is that the rifle at question can only be used for military reasons, and that the gun manufacturer should never have sold it to a member of the public. It should have reserved it for use on the battlefield.
Defendants named are not commenting on the lawsuit.
Hackers have a message for Sony. The drama is not over yet. Cyber criminals promise a bigger and more disruptive hack attack at Sony Pictures. The film studio suffered a massive data breach last month. Now hackers say they are preparing to leak more data. The attack in November leaked sensitive information along with some movies and scripts. Hackers have also demanded that Sony pull the release of its new movie, The Interview. That film is about an assassination attempt of North Korean President Kim Jong-un. That movie will be released on Christmas.
Christmas is right around the corner, but Amazon workers in Germany are on strike. More than 2,000 employees have walked off the job as part of a 3-day strike. Workers want higher wages that are more in line with what retail workers make in Germany. Amazon contends that it pays its staff accordingly. 5 of Amazon's 9 distribution centers are affected, and Amazon assures customers it'll deliver packages in time for Christmas and says only a small amount of its employees are taking part in the demonstrations.
Factory production around the nation is accelerating. Production surged 1.1% last month, well above economists' projections of 0.5%. It is the largest increase in 9 months. It's also viewed as a sign of underlying strength in the U.S. economy, even as business slows down overseas.
In our cover story, United Auto Workers President Dennis Williams wants Detroit's big 3 automakers to raise wages. He says some auto workers hired before the recession haven't seen a base raise in their pay in about 9 years. The new president of the United Auto Workers, Dennis Williams, who was elected in June, says he'll push hard for a wage increase for roughly 140,000 workers at GM, Ford, and Fiat Chrysler.
The UAW is really trying to push for higher wages from the concessions that they took way back in 2009, 2010 during the worst parts of the recession.
Time is quite appropriate to push for an annual wage increase. Been lots of concessionary contracts in the past, and now the market is doing quite well, and the industry is very strong. And so now's the time to make up some of that loss and keep the industry competitive.
Williams wants to close the gap between entry-level workers who make between $16 to $20 an hour and those hired before September 2007 who make between $28 to $38 an hour.
Automotive employment in the United States is going up, but there's always that specter of automakers moving plants to Mexico instead of the United States. In Mexico right now, auto workers reportedly earn about $7 or $8 per hour, including all benefits.
The 2-tier wage system brought in during the recession allowed Chrysler, GM, and Ford to invest billions in plants and hire workers. Now, 17.5% of GM's workforce is entry level. It's 23% at Ford and 44% at Fiat Chrysler.
They really have just been treading water while the industry is becoming much more profitable. So it's time to, once again, make auto industry assembly jobs good middle-class paying jobs.
Second-tier workers have relied on profit-sharing checks tied to profits instead of higher wages. At the end of last year, Ford paid workers $8,800 in profit sharing. Those workers may choose to keep that system if they think Ford could be on the verge of another big year. Talks on the 2015 auto contracts begin next summer. The UAW's current contract with Detroit automakers expires in September.
Also making news from the automotive sector, Volvo is taking a page from Tesla's playbook. The car maker has rolled out a new marketing strategy that includes selling cars online. Tesla is one of the few car makers that cuts out dealers and sells directly to customers over the web. However, Volvo says it will not take business away from dealers and says cars will still pass through the dealer networks for delivery.
Penny pinching is going on at the U.S. Mint. The annual report from the Treasury Department shows that it costs more to produce a penny than the 1-cent value of the coin. It cost the U.S. Mint 1.7 cents to produce a penny. Taxpayers paid for the $90 million loss in production. Price of making a nickel dropped around 8 cents from 11 cents in the past year.
Deals on Wall Street are active this week, sending stocks on a wild ride. Shares of Riverbed Technologies jumped 8% yesterday after the networking company agreed to be taken over by private equity firm Thoma Bravo for $3.6 billion. That deal is expected to close in the second half of next year. Riverbed has been under pressure to go private by activist hedge fund Elliott Management, which increased its stake in the company back in October.
PetSmart has agreed to be acquired in the largest private equity deal of the year. A group of investors will spend $8.7 billion for the pet retailer. Led by BC Partners, the group will pay $83 per share. That's a 39% premium on the chain's closing stock price July 2nd. That's the date that activist investor Jana Partners started pressuring PetSmart to seek a sale. Yesterday, investors fetched shares of PetSmart. Stock jumped $3.
Now onto a dog of a stock. Shares of Bob Evans Farms are up just a fraction this year, and the stock rose just 16 cents Monday on news that the CEO, Steve Davis, is leaving after 8 years on the job. That follows nudging from activist investor Sandel Asset Management. The Bob Evans restaurant chain has been working on improving its business.
According to fishermen, this year's catch of lobster will make for a good year, but not a great year. Though considered robust, the total yearly haul is expected to fall short of the previous 2 seasons. The result will likely mean an increase in lobster prices. 2012's catch of 127.2 million pounds was the highest since records began being kept in 1880. The 2012 wholesale price of lobster was $2.69 per pound.
Turning to the economic calendar for today, it's housing starts for November and building permits. On the earnings calendar, Navistar and Darden Restaurants. Still to come, the new unofficial deadline to get your taxes in order. Plus, why an airline snack controversy has sales at one company going nuts. And why an internet-free existence is a reality for a shocking number of Americans.
Heavyweights in the telecom industry are losing power. The Wall Street Journal reports Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, and T-Mobile have lost a collective $45 billion in market value since mid-November. Rising costs from smartphone data traffic and the government's sale of wireless licenses causing investors to think twice before buying telecom stocks. Verizon has already warned that it is making steep discounts to customers amid rising competition.
Hard to believe, but estimates show that only 62% of people living in rural parts of America have access to the internet. And it's mostly because there is no service. Well, now a new breed of online entrepreneurs are out to get them connected. Paul Eggers reports from North Carolina.
James Wilson is not your typical hiker. Instead, he's an internet entrepreneur hard at work maintaining equipment that keeps Madison County, North Carolina, connected.
The high-tech and hiking and outdoors, put them all together, and it's a lot of fun.
His nearly 2-year-old startup, Ridge Communications, acts like a reliable Wi-Fi network on steroids. Together with his one employee,
Still pretty lean.
Ridgecom provides internet access fast enough for streaming video
And a lot of people just want to watch Netflix.
to homes across nearly 400 square miles of rough rural terrain.
We live way out, and our internet was not very good, and a lot of our neighbors didn't have internet at all, and we thought we could do better.
Ridgecom is among a growing number of wireless internet service providers, or WISPs, that connect roughly 3 million households nationwide.
Our bread and butter is the rural markets, where you have customers that are 5, 10, 15 miles apart from each other. Allows our service to be very, very economical and very, very efficient in getting that last mile connectivity to people who so desperately need it.
Nathan Stuck runs a WISP that serves rural communities outside of St. Louis. He sees the sector expanding to more populated parts of the country, where cable and phone companies now rule the roost.
We're another option. And oh, by the way, we don't require you to pay for a phone line you don't want. We also don't require you to pay for TV that you don't want. We're going to provide you really good internet.
Providing quality customer service allows WISPs to compete.
Occasionally we'll get somebody that's irritated, but they pretty much realize they can actually call somebody and not get on hold.
While continued technological developments will be key for these smaller providers to beat the big boys. Reporting from Madison County, North Carolina, Paul Eggers, First Business News.
Connecting the estimated 18 million Americans living in rural areas without broadband access has been a priority for the Obama administration. The FCC has set aside $100 million this year to accelerate internet access across the country. Coming up, why now is prime time to prepare your taxes. And after the break, the surprising consumer trend that's picking up after a flight fight. There's a nutty silver lining. Last week, a report emerged about the daughter of the chairman of Korean Air flying into a rage because she was served macadamia nuts in a bag instead of on a plate. It delayed the flight, and the story quickly spread, becoming known as Nutgate. Well, now comes word macadamia nuts are in high demand. On eBay in South Korea, sales are surging, with the tasty snacks going for at least 12 times the normal price. Bill Mahler is good to go this morning with tips on tinkering with tax deductions.
Taxes. Yes, I know you're going to be worrying about that in March or early April, but that's a big mistake. If you want to reduce the amount you're going to pay the government, you got to do some things right now, that is, before the year runs out. Do it now. Here's Joe Rosnai. He's a CPA and a partner in the CPA firm Michael Silver & Company. All right, year-end tax planning, Joe. To-do number one?
To-do number one, charitable contributions that you're planning to give to your favorite charities. Get them in 2014. They're worth more this year than next year in most cases. It's a whole year earlier. Second point relating to charitable. If you have any stocks in your portfolio with a significant amount of gains, with any amount of long-term gains associated, you can give those to charity and avoid the tax on the gain and still get the deduction for the value of the stock. Another deduction item, Bill, is prepaying your real estate taxes. Different counties have different rules on how much can be prepaid, but again, a deduction in 14 is usually better than a deduction in 15.
Another item you say is income deferral, trying to get that pay into 2015 than this year. Why?
Absolutely. If you can get, if you have any special kinds of income, commission income, bonuses that your employer might be willing to listen to a timing on, get that payment in 2015 instead of 2014. Put those taxes off another year.
Are you going to have, is it a better tax year to be doing it in? What is the advantage?
The advantage is time. A deduction in 2015 is not worth as much as a deduction in 2014. Income in 15 costs you less tax than 2014 because of the time value. The only difference is if your tax rate might be different in 14 versus 15, that might turn that table.
All right, and preparing for April 15th to help you and your tax preparer, a couple of quick things.
It's never too early to start gathering your tax documents, especially items of deductions. Find them wherever you have them, be it the credit card bills, in the desk drawer, kitchen drawer, whatever. Put them all in one place, add them up. Same thing with any charitable contributions you have. Gather that information. If you have items that are coming in the mail in January and February from your employers, from other people that paid you income, from the broker statements, all of those sorts of things will all add up toward putting your tax return together.
And make life easier for you and for you, Joe Rosnay, the tax guy. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Still ahead, a money manager who is high on America, how he's investing right now after the break. Matt Shapiro, president of MWS Capital, joins us on the show this morning. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Angie.
I have a couple of hot stocks I want to talk about this morning with you, starting with Honeywell. Honeywell came out and said, lower oil prices, double thumbs up for our company. Is this stock a buy?
It is, and you know, a lot of people are disappointed about how the markets acted, the shakeout from oil, but look at Honeywell. They took their 2015 guidance to over $6, which was about expectations. Stock was up a little bit after hours. It's a stock I own widely, and it's one of those big industrials you can buy with some confidence.
People are worried, though, about the economy. I know you think things are going well, and certainly there's positive data to support that. What do you think about Honeywell if the economy is slowing down?
Well, the evidence is that the economy is doing well, and there's going to be a huge, massive boost from the oil price stimulus, even though I expect oil prices to recover next year, and that actually will help lots of different stocks. Another stock that came out with news after hours yesterday was Boeing, and was up strongly, raising its dividends, stock buyback, and you know, airlines are taking off because of low oil prices. Don't you naturally want to invest in airplanes?
Boeing is also hiking its dividend and buying back shares. Is that a positive for the company?
Of course it is. And, you know, I know a lot of people probably have a little bit of the holiday blues. What happened to the Santa Claus rally hasn't materialized yet, but, you know, we'll get past this shakeout from the oil markets. You know, fear levels are at all-time highs. When you talk about emerging markets, high-yield bonds, stress in the oil markets, these are all buy signals for me.
You always make us feel so good no matter what's going on. You see positive signs in the economy. You show investors what to do when everybody else is worrying. Is there anything else on your list, Matt?
Well, thank you for that. And, you know, trend followers sell, investors buy when things are down. So all of the oil sector is really on my shopping list. I think people, when you get into oil in 2015, you're going to be very happy that you took a chance late in the year and took advantage of the oil prices that seem to have finally bottomed yesterday.
Good to have you here. Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
That's about all the time we have for today. Coming up tomorrow, what we are hearing through the grapevine about the country drinking the most wine. Get into the spirit with our show on Wednesday. That's it for now. From all of us at First Business, have a terrific Tuesday and happy Hanukkah.